Our visit to Scotland begins on the banks of the river Findhorn in Morayshire. This place is merely a pleasant picnic spot today, but once in years gone by it was the scene of quite a remarkable feat. A young Highlander, fleeing from his enemies of a rival clan, leapt across the chasm. No one dared to follow him, and so he escaped with his life. Proceeding further north, we arrive at Bonar Bridge in Sutherland. The roads up here aren't very wide, are they? You have to play a game of musical chairs running from one parking place to the next. And if you want to get off the main road onto a track such as this, you have to make sure you have a vehicle with good ground clearance. Brrr, it's very empty and lonely out here. If the car breaks down, I fancy we shall be completely at the mercy of the witches and warlocks. Witches and warlocks, did you say? Yes, that's right. Don't you remember Macbeth? To be honest, though, you're much more likely to see sheep and long-haired cattle than creatures of any other kind. Here are the sheep, disdainfully showing us their backsides. And here are some long-haired cattle. These cattle are of a special breed, incidentally, and are found only in the Scottish Highlands. We have crossed the moors and the peat bogs, and we have arrived at the far north coast. This beautiful lonely beach is at Torresdale Bay. The rusting wreck of a ship embedded in the sand surely has a story to tell. Perhaps she was torpedoed in the Second World War. Who knows?
While I gather cockles here, joy scream of seagulls on the skerry there, joy scream of seagulls while I gather cockles here. Ittle-a-doo-ville, ittle-a-doo-horo, ittle-a-doo-ville, while I gather cockles here. Ittle-a-doo-ville, ittle-a-doo-horo, ittle-a-doo-ville, while I gather cockles here. Laughter of sea waves down on the skerry there, laughter of sea waves while I gather cockles here. Laughter of sea waves down on the skerry there, laughter of sea waves while I gather cockles here. Ittle-a-doo-ville, ittle-a-doo-horo, ittle-a-doo-ville, like I gather cockles here. Ittle-a-doo-ville, ittle-a-doo-horo, ittle-a-doo-ville, still I gather cockles here.
along the coast, we come to a beautiful little bay and harbour near Melness on the Kyle of Tongue. Let's take a closer look at the rocks and the rock pools and the seaweed swaying back and forth in the gentle currents of water and the little sandy beaches.
Speder pilot hår der borten Sanne sjåle skiesen leid Hva meg kaske eintja gausen Østrand øyke vei Dørach Nore hårach Hanne køyle Like køylen ganestørem Ser I mjøler ganech Ampest vanne fenge gorra I fala Is a murdal I bullen Satar Fua marva
Somebody has been foolish enough to try having a swim in the icy cold water, but it looks as if he has learnt his lesson. It's shearing time for the sheep, and willy-nilly they are all put through the process of being shorn and dipped, for their good and for ours. I say, old chap, don't look so sheepish. You're not going to be slaughtered just yet. Westerly direction to the tiny village of Respond and the magnificent beach just near it. This beach is really fabulous, and we're lucky because the weather is positively warm today. What a shame it is that the water is so cold. Don't judge by those children. After all, they're children, so they don't mind the cold. But look, there goes that foolish fellow again. Hey, wait, stop, you idiot. Where do you think you're going? You'll freeze to death out there. He doesn't seem to be taking any notice of our warnings, does he? But wait a minute, though. I think he has decided that discretion is the better part of valor after all, and yes, he's now beating a hasty retreat. I don't think he'll try that again in a hurry. Where are we coming to now? Well, we have crossed the treacherous Kyle of Durness thanks to the skill of the ancient ferryman, and we are on our way to Cape Wrath, the most northwesterly point of the Scottish mainland.
Entering home and the song in the air, light in the eye and it's goodbye to care. Laughter, love and the welcoming there, I love my heart, my own one. Tell me, O lands o' the Orient gay, speak Speak o' the riches and joys of Cathay, eh, but it's grand to be walking out there, to find yourself nearer to Isle, and it's westering home and the song in the air, light in the eye and it's goodbye to care.
Cape Wrath, looking down from the highest cliffs in the whole of Britain.
Where are the folk like the folk of the West, canty and couthy and kindly the best? There I would buy me and there I would rest, at home where my ain folk and I, and it's westering home and the song in the air, light in the eye and it's goodbye to care. Laughter, love and the welcoming there, I love my heart, I own God.
After those giddy heights, it is a relief to be back at the river. But the crossing is not going to be easy. The tide has gone out and treacherous shoals are on every hand. But the ferryman will get us across. He has been plying his trade for half a century. Kinlochbervie, a remote but busy and prosperous fishing port.
Kiss the children for me, Mary.
The fish comes off the boat, is loaded onto a lorry, and away it goes to Glasgow or Edinburgh or even further south.
Tell them it's hard, I'm working for them. No, it breaks my heart to leave. Don't forget hard work and one day. I'll be thinking of you, Mary. Though I'm many miles away. Kiss the children for me, Mary. Don't let them pine or grieve. Tell them it's hard, I'm working for them.
When the sun has gone down in the dark western islands, our work is all done for a while.
We've come quite a long way down the coast now. We've crossed the ferry at Kylestrom and we've arrived at another fine beach at Clashnessie.
And we're driving from Gorney to Glenelgan, Kildinnan and Lahi.
At yet another beach nearby, at Achmelvich, there are positively crowds of holidaymakers. A great change from a few years ago when these beaches were completely deserted even in high midsummer. The water here is perceptibly warmer than on the north coast, and water sports of all kinds are in full swing.
The pipes and the lilting accordion band, and it's so for the Itsum and for the jig, and the dashing white sergeant is grand. Soon the dawn will be showing.
And now let's go for a brief excursion from Lochinver to see the seals. There they are. Can you spot their little heads? Delightful creatures, aren't they?
Next time there's dancing in Kyle, and we'll arm and we'll swing and we'll whoop and we'll sing and we'll set to our partners in style. Well, there's nothing so grand in the whole of the land as to go to the dancing in Kyle.
We seem to have left the wild highlands behind us. Here at Inverewe is a most extraordinary example of the triumph of man over nature, for here are the famous gardens founded by Osgood Mackenzie. The climate here is surprisingly mild, and Mackenzie knew that if only the land could be sheltered from the strong winds, a great variety of plants could be grown successfully. But how to provide that shelter? Mackenzie planted a screen of trees and then waited patiently for several years until they afforded sufficient shelter to protect the plants he wanted. Now you can see here a magnificent selection of exotic flowers and bushes from many parts of the world. The weather has turned dull, what a pity. But perhaps this is the right kind of weather in which to visit the somewhat sinister castle of Donnan, the Highland McCrae. Enough to come upon a pipe band entertaining a crowd of visitors. There's dancing too. First the sword dance, and later on the intricate steps of Shin trews.
The night is falling, hear the pipes are calling, loudly and proudly calling down through the glen. There where the hills are sleeping, now feel the blood a-leaping high as the spirits of the old Highland men. Calling in gallant fame, upon my mountain came, high may a proud banner gloriously wave. Land of my endeavour, land of the shining river, land of my heart forever, Scotland. High in the misty Highland, out by the Battle Island, brave are the hearts that beat beneath Scottish sky. While meet you. Songs are the friends who greet you, shine as the light.
Further down the coast at Glenelg, we find some curious ancient ruins. These circular buildings, called brochs, served the local population as strong places of refuge and defense against invaders from the sea some 1400 years ago. But now the weather has turned rough, and it is time to say farewell to the Western Highlands and turn for home.
Land of my heart forever, Scotland's the brave.